This episode of Legacy Curious is brought to you by Legacy Protectors. Customize insurance strategies for business owners and families who aspire to create a lasting legacy. Hello there, and welcome to Legacy Curious, the show where we explore what it really means to protect, grow, and pass on everything you've worked so hard to build. I'm your host, David Gravelle. I'm a life insurance strategist, business legacy coach, and founder of Legacy Protectors. Each episode, I sit down with the bold thinkers, entrepreneurs, and everyday visionaries who are turning their values into lasting impact in business and life and across generations. Today's guest is Jess Dewell. Jess Dewell is a business advocate. She's on a mission to grow small businesses that are sustainable and tenacious. Jess is a nationally recognized business development tactician, founder of Red Direction, and popular host of the Voice of Bold Business Radio. She uses proactive approaches to install thoughtful, short, and long-term decision-making to create success and fortify your organization's culture. With over 20 years of advising, consulting, business ownership experience, her views are both unexpected and practical. And hello, Jessica. How are you? Nice to see you.
Oh, David, it's nice to see you too. I kind of want to be outside like you are today. I wish I had a setup like that.
Yeah, I take advantage of it when I can. It's been raining here the last 2 days in Oklahoma City, but I've got my little umbrella here on the patio, so I'm still trying to enjoy it. Remind or tell our audience where you're from. Where are you calling it from?
I am in Kirkland, Washington, which is just east of Seattle. There's a big lake between Kirkland and Seattle called Lake Washington, and so that's where I reside. For those of you who know Costco, it's actually where their original headquarters was, thus the Kirkland brand. Little tidbit for that,
yeah,
right?
Thanks. We learned something already.
I know, right?
It's going to be a great episode. You're teaching us right off the hop.
Can I ask you a question about your rain before we go?
Sure.
Okay, what kind of rain do you have in Oklahoma City?
Yeah, it comes at all angles. Yeah, at all angles and in a bunch.
Okay.
Sometimes it brings hail. Most times it brings wind. But this year has been the wettest on record, and everything is just lush. So I would rather have it that way, because without the rain, everything's just brown and dead, and it's hot here. We can reach 100 on any given summer day. So
yeah. Okay. Well, I ask because people think it rains a lot in the greater Seattle area, and locals don't carry umbrellas. We don't get that wet. You have a jacket, maybe you have a hood. I wear a hat to keep my glasses dry, but we have enough wind. Usually umbrellas are not necessary, or there's just really not enough to get you wet. So that's why I ask. I'm like, what kind of rain do you have? Because people assume it rains a lot here. And I'm like, well, sure, if you're walking through thick fog.
Yeah, I lived in Vancouver for almost 3 years, and there were times when it did rain a lot, but there were some beautiful days too. I remember more of the beautiful days. And
don't tell anybody.
Yeah, right. The times we visited that part of the world, Seattle area, we at Tacoma, we really enjoyed ourselves there too. It was really nice weather. So You're right. Let's keep that a secret. Yeah.
For everybody listening, our closest friends, right?
Right. And so, again, thanks for joining us today. Let's get to know you a bit before we talk about, your business, Red Direction. Tell us a bit about where you're born. Were you born there, and what was life like when you were a kid?
I was born in Arizona, right outside of Phoenix, and I was apparently a very sick baby. This is stuff I don't remember. And my parents would travel from Phoenix to UCLA Medical Center, and they would run tests on me for a while. And up until I was 2 years old, they were doing all of these tests, and nobody could find anything that could be wrong. So the only thing they said was, well, how about if you move east and see if that helps? So my dad and my mom picked up and moved outside of Chicago. So we went all the way across the country. And by the way, my situation changed. So I was able to still have some issues and other things, but in the general sense of it, I wasn't crying all the time. I could actually enjoy being a human in this world at those infant ages, exploring all of the things that infants do.
Yeah, great. And how did you like living in Chicago? Did you become a sports fan there? I think of Chicago, I think of, great
We
food and
did. That is
entertainment and
not where I
sports.
became a sports fan. Yeah, we left before I was in the first grade. So I learned to talk there. So if you stick me in the northwest, in the central northwest, I pick up the Wisconsin, Minnesota, Northern Illinois accent, and I'll keep it for a long time. And it does impact my where I was raised, which is outside of Kansas City, Kansas, south in Olathe, in the Overland Park area.
Okay, and what was life like when you were a kid? Were you active in sports, or did you have music or arts interests? What were some of the things you know
I was a
thought
Girl
were
Scout as long as I could remember, and I'm still a Girl Scout to this day. I'm alive after high school. I became a lifetime Girl Scout. Had a Girl Scout troop for a while, which is a whole cool story in and of itself. Um, I had
Well, we
a
love the Girl Scouts around here. We had a guest on just recently who worked for the head office, was a national Girl Scout leader
yes,
at their head
I
office.
saw that
Yeah.
interview. I was doing
Okay.
my research, and that was super cool to see
Costina.
her.
Yeah, Costina.
Yeah.
She's cool. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I also still actually not as well as I used to play the flute. So I started that probably whenever you start instruments in elementary school,
Sure.
and decided that that was going to be my thing, and became one of the top 3 in my school district,
Great.
which put me, and that's actually, as a flute player, that's actually really hard to do, and did all kinds of local and national competitions in music, which was really great. I expanded to play the oboe and the tenor. No, just the alto saxophone. They all have the same fingers. So people are like, "Ooh, you play 3 instruments." And I'm like, "Sure," because they all use the same music. Right?
Right. Right. And that was my experience too. I played the alto sax and then
Uh-huh.
tried the flute and
Yep.
clarinet and just came back to the sax. The sax was
Came
just
back to
the
the same.
coolest for me. And I had a hard time with my embouchure to get the flute really,
Oh,
to make it my
yep.
own.
My piccolo was the key to that. I was
Okay.
not a very good flute player until I picked up a piccolo, and it fixed all kinds of things. And then
Yeah.
from that, the alto flute. I can't do the bass flute still to this day.
Okay.
That requires more, I don't even know what part of,
Diaphragm.
not my
Yeah.
lungs, but diaphragm,
Yeah.
right? Than
Yeah.
I have ever been able to develop. But I do. I like all flutes.
I'm going to
Come back.
listen to some flute music today. You've inspired me to go check some out. Do you know any good flautists? I can't even
Vivaldi's
think
my
of it.
favorite.
Vivaldi. There you go.
Vivaldi's
Okay.
my
Well,
favorite.
yeah. Okay.
I'm trying to think. There's one. I wish I knew the name of it. When I was in high school, a very good friend of mine played the tuba, and he was like, "I want to play a duet with you." And I said, "Cool." And so he found this music, and it was a tuba piccolo duet. And we
Incredible.
performed it for the whole school, and we performed it for all of these other people. I don't remember what else we did with that, but it was quite fun and fun to learn. And he had to play almost as fast as I did. So think about a tuba playing
That,
those notes as fast, fast. It was awesome.
that is awesome. That's incredible. I didn't know. Was that Vivaldi who wrote that? Who do you know
No,
the
I don't
composer?
even know
No.
who wrote it. It
Okay.
came out of somewhere. It's one of my favorite memories.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Vivaldi's one of my favorites. And I'm trying to think. Handel is another one that I like.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very emotional music out of the flute too. Now that I think more about,
Yes,
that type of music seems very melancholy.
it
Although,
can. Yeah,
it can be
it
used
can
in
be.
excitement too. Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. Well, great. Everyone out there, listen to some flute music.
Absolutely. I'm on board with
Yeah.
that. And you
Yeah.
want to know something funny? My favorite instrument is actually a French horn.
My sister tried that for a while and brought it home and tried repeatedly to be good at that, but she got braces around the same time and
Oh,
ended up
that's
having to
tough.
transition to drums. Yeah. So
Oh,
she
I
became a
remember. That was
drummer.
the
Yeah.
hardest part. In and out of braces. In
Yeah.
was worse than out,
Right. Right. I know.
especially for saxophone. I didn't like that at all.
All right. So you're having a great time being a flautist in, elementary and middle schools. What
Mhm.
was high school and college like? Did you go to college? What kind of studies did you pursue?
So when I actually did not, I actually liked school as a getaway, but I did not like school for other reasons. And it was more of the dichotomy of, well, if I'm not here, I have to go there, or if I'm not there, I have to go here. I was a very I had a very strict upbringing. And so by the time I got to college, I was like, how far away can I go? Can I afford? And here I was, right? I knew I was supposed to pay my own way for school, but maybe some part of me wished otherwise. So I was like, well, okay, so I'm in state of Kansas, and what can I do and how far can I go and what am I interested in? And believe it or not, I also have an interest in medical technology and research. And so I started school as a as a biochemist. And I did all kinds of things could have done.
Yeah.
Nowhere in my world today. And I remember my high school biology teacher and his wife shaking their head at me. And for those of you listening, instead of watching, that was a no. They're shaking their head no. And I dropped out of college 2 years in, finished my second year, because I had joined a team that started a company. Some friend of mine from college and my boyfriend, now husband, were building this thing. This guy had this idea, brought on Ryan, and I looked at them one day and ended up in the middle of it. And so we were like, well, Kansas isn't the place to do high tech. So where do we want to go? And none of us really wanted to go to California at the time. So all of us eventually ended up here in the Pacific Northwest.
And another great tech hub, Microsoft right? area there, right?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. My friend worked for Windows 95, for those of that remember that, pre-2000. When he worked for Windows95.com while he was building that. Ryan and I were in school as sophomores, and then we came out at the end of our sophomore year, and sometime after that really short, like it was 1999. The company sold. And so the company that acquired us had all of that awesomeness. And so we had all of the awesomeness of the pre-dot-com crash, having a technology company. And then what? And then I traveled a lot. So good. No more biology, no more, biochemistry, all sales, all operations, all mergers and acquisition, all being in rooms with people 3 times my age, because I was in my early 20s.
Right. Yeah. I had the same experience. I started working for Xerox when I was 25. And I remember being the youngest in the room for a number of years until all of a sudden I looked around and I wasn't. I like that. I like being the youngest in the room. They didn't always appreciate me. That's for sure. Yeah. And I was harder on the younger ones too. I was guilty of that. So, that's one of the regrets I have is I wish I treated younger people better when I was kind of mid-age. I think I'm doing much better now, but so okay, and let's just kind of continue your story. So you've learned, it sounds like, the inner workings of business. You've been, elbow deep in organizational building and
everything.
Structuring and operations, right? And it sounds like, your human skills, people skills were really good. Is that where you felt, most comfortable? What were the parts of the job where you were like, hey, this is my calling. This is where I'm really good.
It turns out I am good at building companies, which is where I ended up today. And how that showed up, David, was there was this thing, many people our age can remember this, called the dot-com crash. For those who don't, that was a very big global economic event that changed a lot of jobs for a lot of people. And it changed the way a lot of technology companies had to and showed up to do business. And here I was in my early 20s amidst all of this. And I'm like, well, I have an earnout to go get. What am I? So I'm like, what can't I do? And I went and I found out that there was very little I could not do. And we did earn that earnout during the dot-com crash. And one of the things that I came up with, I thought I was smart. I probably read it in a book because I am an avid reader and I believe in reading and learning from others. So I'm almost positive I picked this up in a book somewhere of, well, if I got to keep my clients, I guess I better keep them in business so they can keep using our technology, which was, by the way, an e-commerce service. Okay. So ability to pay
at the dawn of e-commerce, no doubt.
At the dawn of e-commerce, yes. Yeah. Specifically around software technology and delivery of like what we would call apps today were that, right? Okay. And So I was like, well, okay, this is what I'm going to do. So I did all of this research and I did all of these things, and I knew what buckets were going to be. I knew what our biggest risk bucket was, which was our top tier clients. Because if one of them went away, what did that actually do to the rest of our revenue? That is a big
hole. Yeah.
And what does our second bucket and our third and fourth buckets look like? And where did I see the most opportunity, and what made that opportunity? So, experimenting and playing in that realm and talking to companies, understanding what they were doing and trying to do, and how we could actually help them as their partner, getting online, being in digital commerce, delivering digital product. That was my job, and it turned out I'm really good at it, and I love it. And so we grew our top three, our third bucket clients into bigger and into tier 2. And I grew all of the second tier buckets, and which I liked. None of them jumped into the first bucket, which was great, because that just meant we had a lot of flex in terms of
grew wide. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Correct. So that I was watching that bottom line every single time, because we get excited. Ooh, we've got this. We don't need to think too much. This thing that we all talk about called future-proofing your business. I think that's what I was doing back then, but it didn't have an official name. Right, David?
Right.
And what was it? It was, how do I make sure any change that's outside of my control hits me with the least impact as possible?
Right, or that you can turn it into an opportunity, right? Monetize it and hit catch that wave, and that's something that I think we're on that same, for people that lived through that .com bust. I think we're right there on that same precipice. This AI bubble. Who knows what's going to prick this into
so
popping.
Excited.
Yeah, and there's going to be some winners and losers coming out the back end, but stay tuned, viewer, because it's coming.
That totally. Okay, now here's an interesting thing, David. Like, do you remember the battle of the at-home movie, DivX versus DVD?
Yes.
You remember this?
Oh,
I don't know if we talked about this before, but this is these were the two biggest ones. They were in there. Was it Blockbuster? No, it wasn't Blockbuster. It was Best Buy. Wasn't Best Buy the DivX people, right?
Yes.
And they all in. You're going to buy these from us, and you're going to pay a rental fee every time you watch it, and it's going to be great. And I think, and then there was just the DVDs that you're still buying movies at $20 or plus or minus a pop.
Right.
And you take them home and they're in your library forever. Well, we all know what won, because I can talk to anybody who is 30 or younger, and they're like, what's DivX?
How do you own something, right? It's all stream and
it's all,
rent or stream now. And
so we went that way. Didn't we? We went the DivX way, just not on hardware.
Right,
we went that way. Who knew we would ever get
player.
To a place?
Yeah, that's our format and our player. And at the time, that's what I was burning my DVDs to, was rasterizing them into DivX files so that I could carry them with me or reburn them onto a new smaller file size onto like a CD or something. So
exactly,
just crazy time when I think back of all that.
And we're thinking, but if you think about it, you're right with AI. What is the possibility? There's a lot of play. There's going to be a lot of opportunity. Now, I think the difference between where we were and where we are now is the thing that's there. How much is one step on top of the thing that's there versus something that can actually go in a little deeper and use it a little wider? I think that's going to separate who stays and who goes, or what succeeds in our AI world as we go forward. Tools and whatever there's like 4 quadrants of what AI can do for us in general. And I think that it's going to be very interesting to see how that falls out.
Yeah, I'm most excited for agentic AI. I want to see smart devices that are autonomous and, in a real way. We're still getting better at that. It just reminds me of, I've seen so many computer evolutions and so many small steps, and all of a sudden there's a completed version of something. And that's where I feel we are with AI. It's definitely stumbling in some areas, but it's like staring at a green screen right now. I can see that the future's color, and I can see that, there's a digitization coming and some smartness. So I'm real excited for that, although same time terrified on what it's going to do to the rest of society. So just like the internet, just this huge disruption, and it's hard to predict. And so you never know what boat to be in, but you better be agile if you're in the wrong one, right? Get it.
I was going to say, let's go together in our own boats.
Yeah.
where there's a little bit of safety in numbers. And I think it's going to really, okay, so this is coming back to one of the things I love and how I ended up in this world was because I was willing to be curious, I'm willing to experiment, and I'm willing to be hands-on and tinker.
Yeah,
And
I really
think,
love that. Yeah, I really love that quality for the people that I'm trying to coach and lead, my kids in particular, but the people that I have, in a business sense, led, the curious ones are the most successful, right? Because
and they will be now too,
they're
because that's the
adventurous, willing to
agility.
try. Yeah,
Yeah,
right. And they're
willing to
agile.
try. And by the
Right.
way, I'm going to just do a quick call out to Gen Xers here because we are the ones who figured out what to do with all those really ugly, awesome old websites, got everybody online to all of those things. And now here we are with the second big change in our lives. We've already done it once. And how cool is it that we're all still super creative and curious and we've got this? We have a lot to teach those that are coming up after us, David.
Yeah, if they could just listen, right? I mean, that's the challenge for myself when I reflect on some of the areas where I, you know, would like to, change things. Although, again, regrets just mean you wouldn't be your perfect self that you are today. But at the same time, those are the messages I've always wanted to deliver to myself, which is continue to learn, be open-minded. And
Yes.
when you're closed-minded or stubborn for change, you're going to get left behind. So, okay, so
Yes.
let's kind of get right to the point where you're talking to yourself and others about starting your current venture. It's called Red Direction.
Mm.
First off, tell us, what led you to start it? What was your drive or your impetus to do that? And then talk a bit about what it is.
So, I didn't know I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up, David. There's too many fun things out in the world. So
Exactly.
I can't say that this is what I will do forever. I can say I've been doing this the longest out of anything that I have ever done. And it came with not only a lot of failures within Red Direction itself. By the way, its first name was not Red Direction. Nope. We won't even go there. But I had all these great ideas. Like, do you remember the beginning of Clueless, where she goes into her closet and she punches up some things and her stuff spins around and it shows up, right? And she looks at it
Yeah.
on a screen. I wanted to make an app like that as soon as the App Store came out. I was unsuccessful. Because I don't code. I talked to a couple of companies that I talked to, unfortunately then took all my ideas and went and had products. I saw copies of what I was trying to do. And when I didn't want to pay them the money that they wanted to do that, I was like, well, good. At least it got out in the world. And boy, am I mad at you because that was my idea. Actually, it was Clueless's idea, right?
I've had a couple of those ideas and felt the
Right?
same way. I was like, as long as
Yeah.
somebody makes it happen, I just want to see it realized. Yeah.
I think that that's the big thing in the blessing was, okay, so that wasn't for me to do, and the universe did what it needed to do to keep me on the track I am on, and I'm grateful for that. Not in the moment. Sometimes I'm a very bad in the moment grateful person, little bit. Prickly, or no, a lot prickly, depending on who you are in my world will have seen that. But in the end, it is what it's supposed to be. Okay, that one was not for me. Okay, that one was not for me. And I ended up working with, how do you integrate technology into your world? That was a big part of what I did. In addition to technology companies going, well, technology, but how do you actually use this to do your business? And so bringing cross disciplines together, I think, is a big part of that, David.
Okay. And so that's what made you think, okay, I'm going to launch a venture to, deliver those types of solutions or work on those types of products with
People
your
came to
clients.
me. People came to me with questions, and I was like, "Oh yeah!" And then they were like, "Can I pay you for that?" And I was like, "Oh, sure,
I guess
okay."
I
That's
should charge
actually
for
how
this.
it started.
I love that. Yeah.
Isn't that
I
great?
guess
And
I
there's
should
still
be
a piece of
charging
me.
for this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's still a piece of me today. I get people that are like, "You've given me a lot of information. You've helped me immensely. I think I need to start paying you." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, let's do that." Right? I love that I can be gracious with my time. I love that it's not, yes, profitability is important. Yes, we have to have a way to pay our bills and be able to contribute. And we have to know that we're contributing. And by the way, a regret that I have is not learning that earlier. Not asking people to pay me actually was a disservice to myself and was not honoring
And the work you're
value that I
doing,
actually
right?
brought.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's it. That's just
Yeah.
it. You're limiting some of the potential future work
Yes.
that you could do, right? And so those are
Correct.
lessons for the viewer. Again, we're dropping truth bombs here. Know your worth. Be proud to ask for it. You deserve it, especially if you're delivering unique new value, right?
That's right. And to believe in the value. And that is actually, I think, one of the things I find with the businesses that I work with today is at some point what that initial idea was got lost or it morphed or it changed. And when there's more than one person involved in the company setting that path, having that vision, it's easy to diverge. And that's where big issues come, not only from just regular issues around not growing or getting stuck or making decisions, but actual company implosion, whether it's immediate or whether it's death by 1,000 paper cuts is one phrase that I use when, yeah.
All right. So we're going to encourage our watchers and listeners to visit reddirection.com and they can get engaged right there, right? Get contact with you there. And we'll have, links in your description here for this video as well as, your socials and any other way. What does engagement look like? Help us understand the process. So let's say someone, gets in contact with you. I'm assuming there's a discovery call, and what goes on from there?
Oh, there could be all kinds of things because what I have found early on is that one size does not fit all. The work that I do fits in many disciplines, in many industries, in many stages of business. And going back to that curiosity, going back to that being hands-on, it's it's a place where it's like, oh, all of the things, all of the systems that are there, all of the methodologies that I have been using don't work anymore. That's the time to reach out to me. Yes, I will talk to you in whatever form you want, whether it's through some sort of messenger somewhere, whether we get on the phone, whether we get on a video call, that's fine. But I will tell you, there is a stage where I can be helpful, and it's when everything else or one major thing that has been selected quits working. And why did it quit working? There's a really good reason. It's usually easy to find. It's usually very hard to address, but it's straightforward. So that's the process with which we go through. I'm a pot stirrer, David. I will ask some hard questions. I'm like, how long have I known you? Oh, well, I'm still going to ask this question. So hold on tight. Here we go. Because sometimes they need to be asked. And I don't mind, and my upbringing brought that out of me. I don't mind being awkward. I don't mind messing up something that needs to be asked if I can't get it quite right to start the conversation, because what we have normalized gets in our way. And through a desire to be, for lack of a better word, polite, we don't address them. And there's a way to do that. And I don't mind being the person that has to stumble through it if that helps everybody else go, oh yeah, we got to look at this and talk about this now.
Okay, so it sounds like there might be some coaching involved. It's a
lot of facilitation.
It's a consulting relationship. Yes. It could be project-based, am I hearing? So if they had a new or interesting area that they needed help exploring, or they have some roadblocks in the way, or just feel like they're stuck in groupthink, maybe they need a new fresh set of eyes.
Correct. Yep. And in general, yes, thank you. And in general, I'm working with established companies. So these are companies that have figured out how to keep the lights on, and they are in the middle of startup mode, or they're at the end of that and going, now what do I do next? Because all of those things, and how do I stay ahead of the curve? What is my business instinct? That's what we're developing. So yes, through consulting, through project work, through strategic planning, we're looking for how do you build business instinct? And that's the ultimate outcome. My business instinct is good. I can make a confident decision regardless of the outcome. I know it was the best one at the time, and I prioritized well.
I love that. I'm telling myself those messages every day, right? Is just do the right thing in the right moment for the right reasons. And in the long arcing history of my career and my business, it's going to all work out, right?
By the way, the student is the teacher who is still a student.
Right. if you're continually learning, then I think you still got a chance at, unlimited success. All right. So also on your website, we're going to be able to get connected with your podcast. So tell us a bit about the Uncharted podcast. That's the name of it, right? Uncharted.
The Uncharted is, well, I never do one of anything over and over again, David. So Uncharted is one piece of the podcast. All right. So the Bold Business Podcast has conversations like what we're having here, but they're focused on a business owner or a leader who is invoking real change in real time and is willing to talk about it with us or reflect on something they just went through and be open, vulnerable, and tell us what they have learned. Another thing is I do have interviews with people. So it's more of a, this is what I've learned and this is what I want to share. Now, a third type I have is also, I have panel discussions with subject matter experts, because we all could use a subject matter expert. And there are many of us who want to break into speaking or presenting in some way to talk about it. Well, the way that I have set up the podcast, all of them are 50 minutes plus or minus just a little bit. And that's by design. And so what I do is for that, when we have subject matter experts, there's so many of us. I'm like, well, how about if we have 3 people who have a similar viewpoint and are doing similar things so we can get a range of what you could possibly do. Going back to how do I experiment? How do we stay curious? And that's where the Bold Business Podcast came from, David. But really, I was having conversations and telling everybody about them. And I was like, what happens if I record these? Right. Well, in October of 2025, we turned 9.
Congratulations. Yeah, we'll celebrate your anniversary here a little early.
Yeah.
Good for you. Yeah. And I'm sure that's a huge journey. Now, you and I have talked about this when we spent some time before this episode, getting to know each other and on that journey. So for other aspiring podcasters out there, because I know, the people that I talk to, some of them have considered doing the same things. Do you have some advice for us young podcasters or wannabes out there? What advice could you give us?
Know exactly what your purpose is for doing it. Is it to educate and drive potential clients or existing clients to a knowledge base? Is it to gain new clients? Is it to have great conversations and expand thinking? Is it to entertain? Because here's the deal. If you accidentally do one of those and you're trying to get it to support your business and it doesn't, it's really hard to change without starting over.
Right. Yeah.
In fact, I would say
your mission.
Start over.
Yeah, start over. You can do a reset. Yes. And that's, I think, with some of the beauty with the people that give themselves permission to fail and learn from their mistakes or from their first attempts, let's say that. Because I'll tell you, I'm so impressed with the people that have courage in order to be bad at something long enough to be good at something, and then stick with it long enough to be great at something.
Yes.
And so I'm continually challenging myself. That's why I'm here. And just like your journey, as you mentioned, I was having these great conversations with business owners and thought, I can't tell these stories. I want them to be heard. I feel like they need to be told, but it can't be in my voice. So that's why people like you are here. So thanks for joining us today. Tell us a bit more about what's coming in the future for you in Red Direction or the podcast. What are some new events or up and coming things that you want to share?
Well, other than turning 9, which I'm super proud of. And by the way, even though this podcast is turning 9, I've been doing audio, video work and production and putting content out into the world probably for 13 years. So it's really, really great. And I have the same technical producer that I started with, and we are very good friends, and he supports all of my wild dreams. And he goes, sure, I think we can figure this out. I got to say, I love Scott for that. It's a great journey on that.
Well, we all need a Scott. I'll tell you that.
We all need a Scott. Yes. And also simple is better. So that would be one other thing I would say. That's one thing. We all get it. We all do it. We all overcomplicate. And every single time, even me, I'm like, what did I do that's too hard here? How can I look at this a little differently? And some people want to call it trim the fat. Some people want to call it streamline or optimize. And I'm just like, where am I, as this grows, where's the roadblock going to be? And as long as I know what that is, that's fine. And so my job with the podcast, David, is that it's not me. Because it turns out all the podcast issues are me.
Are you? Yeah.
Are me, which is fine because you know that, right?
Yeah. I'm hoping that's the case for me, because it's the most controllable and changeable thing I feel, is to identify, improvements for yourself and be on that continual improvement path.
Yes.
Okay, great. So we're at the $1 million question right now for Legacy Curious. So help us understand what you hope to accomplish here with your legacy and what you want to be remembered for.
For being a good person to you, whether we ever talked and you ever learned my name or not. sometimes what I have learned, David, is that just being there, some of the most memorable moments I have are from talking to strangers. They are from just making eye contact on the street as I'm walking down with a smile or a nod. And they can be incredibly profound. I am seen, they are seen, and that experience is important. And I believe our society today witnesses less than ever before and pauses to observe and actually be part of what's around us less than ever before. And so I hope that at the end of my days, not only will I stay curious and be tinkering and coming up with other experiments to run, that the people whose lives I've touched, whether it was a lot, a little, whether we actually worked together, met in the real world, became friends, or I helped through being on your podcast, or they came and they listened to my podcast, that is good enough for me. And being able to have somebody to go, hey, just see me. And I'm going to share this because actually this just happened. When I was out of town recently, every morning I go to the same place to get coffee, and it's actually my grocery store. Love my grocery store. Up here in the Midwest, it's called Puget Sound Community Co-op, PCC. Every day. And there was this wonderful man who I would see every day, and he'd shuffle through the store and he would get blueberries and yogurt and a coffee. And I started talking to him when I was getting my tea, yerba mate, and he was getting his coffee. And one day I learned his name was Robin. And after a few years, about once a week, actually it was about after a year, I made an effort to sit down with him. I was like, what day of the week when I see him, do I have 15 minutes that I can just sit down and be with him? And I did. And I will tell you, I learned so much. It was not only historically, not only a different point of view, but it was great to just spend time with a person in my community that we both shared the love of morning coffee and tea at this grocery store. And he was 86 this year and he passed away. So that I don't get to see him at the grocery store anymore. And I will tell you, my mornings are there's a big hole in them still. Now,
I believe it.
Over. Yeah. We didn't work together. He was long time retired. He had his own life and I had my own life. We only met at the grocery store, and he left a hole in my life. And so that is something that I hope, whether, that I don't want people to have a hole in their life when I die, but I'm like, she made a difference for me. She was important to something that I did. She was a part of my world. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you want to be missed a little bit, right? And that, hopefully they carry on that sense of, just fellowship. That would be, when they think of you and how they put you at ease. I'm reminded constantly, people tell me that when you remembered, it's for how people make you feel.
Yes.
Less about what they said or did, but how they make you feel. And so it sounds like he makes you feel and remember very fondly your time with him. So even though you've lost him, it feels like you're carrying him with him. So
yeah.
I think that's a great wish for all.
He was a musician.
Okay.
Yeah. And his brother was an actor. And the list goes on, right? How he grew up and the stories he would tell. I'm like, This is so cool. And he wanted to be witnessed. So I became fond of him, and he wanted somebody to talk to and to share those stories with. So I was glad I could do that for him too.
Yeah, great. Well, we thank you for sharing that story with him, and he lives on a little bit here in this recording of his presence with you. So thanks for that. And thanks for being here today. I really appreciate you coming on. You're such a great podcast presence that, it was such a nice interview for me. So I really appreciate that. And I know our audience got a lot out of what, you said today. So please, audience, check out the links in the description and go to Red Direction. And if you need help with your business or just want to talk to Jessica a little bit more about what's going on in your world, reach out to her. And we'll have you back on in the future if you're able to come and teach us some things specific to your expertise.
I would be glad to do that. And I'm filled with gratitude to being here with you today, David.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks, Jessica. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thank you to our listeners and audience for spending time with us today on Legacy Curious. I hope this conversation gave you some insight, encouragement, or just that little spark you needed to keep you moving forward in your own legacy journey. If you got value from today's episode, please take a second to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone else who's building something that matters. And if you're ready to take that next step, protecting your business, planning for retirement, or passing on your legacy with purpose, head to legacyprotectors.life to schedule a conversation. Until next time, I'm your host, David Gravelle, reminding you to stay curious, stay committed, and keep building something worth passing on.